Hello everyone, myself Ayush Patel. I'm working with Jeavio since last 2 years in this AI space, and today we are going to take a session on this LLM workflows and how to implement them.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Namsuk. I've been part of Jeavio from last 2 years and I've been part of R&D team from last 1.5 years, where I worked within AI space. Today we will deep dive into how we can structure LLM workflows, and continuing on the session from previous session of prompting techniques. We'll explore some of the prompting techniques as well today, and then deep dive into LLM workflows and how we can use and for the same. Um, Before we move into the main section of today's session, just a recap on what we discussed in the previous session. In previous session, we deep dive into if we deep dive into the first principles of elements of prompts, where we discuss more on the how we can structure the prompts, how we can leverage prompt engineering in order to solve our day-to-day problems. So we deep dive into how can we structure a good prompt. We discuss various techniques like uh, instruction, context, and input data and output indicator. Instruction is nothing but providing specific instruction to the model for your input data. Context is providing external information to guide the model's behavior. Input data is basically your main question or content which model needs to respond. And the output indicators are various examples that you can provide so that the answer that you get is in the format that is required. We have also explored various types of output indicators like XML style examples, JSON based examples, which you can leverage in your prompting engineering so that the output you get is better and you can pass it easily. Apart from that, we also deep dive into some of the prompting techniques which could solve your simpler use case in day-to-day life. We went ahead with seeing how we can use zero-shot prompting, few-shot prompting, chain of thought of prompting with various multiple types of it. Then also we discuss more on self-consciously and also few examples on each of it and how we can leverage them to solve our problems. So basically, zero shot is basically only providing the input data instruction without providing the output indicators, so that model can provide the output based on the input data and instruction. Whereas in few shot prompting, we give some examples to the model so that it can leverage the examples to get the answer based on your input data. Whereas in chain of thought of processing, we allowed we added reasoning steps in our prompting techniques so that LLM could reason on each step and then provide the answer so that we can also debug it easily. As in chain of thought prompting, it would the LLM would also provide its reasoning step, and then we can also identify if the output that is on which step of output did LLM hallucinate and then reiterate on our prompt. We also explored on self-consistency, where we leverage this prompting technique in order to uh, have various paths of promptings, and then based on the output which we get the most from each of the branches, we select that output and use that. So that's what we explored in the previous session. Today we'll explore more on some of the advanced techniques like tree of thoughts and prompt chaining. Um, yep. So why do we even require this advanced technique is basically some of the problems that we have in day-to-day life is not a simpler use case where we can solve it directly from a giant prompt. That's when we require advanced techniques. So one of them is tree of thoughts prompting. These are similar to how human also chooses the correct answer for its input statement. So tree of thought tree of thoughts prompting allows LLM to do the similar thing in how human also behaves. So whenever there is a problem statement where there is no fixed answer to a particular question or input data, we generally use this tree of thoughts prompting where we explore various possibilities, we evaluate parts, and can choose the best part. So problem statement that involves creative thinking or it's consulting, where generally there is no right answer. Uh, Probably most of the time, the answer is based on the constraints that you have, based on the input data. There could be various possible right answers for it. So we can use this tree of thoughts prompting in that scenario. So we'll take one example of how we can leverage this prompting technique. So suppose I have to plan a weekend trip from Vadodara, then how I can structure the prompt is like this, where I will provide uh, instruction that I want to plan a relaxing weekend trip from Vadodara. And I will also provide the constraints that I have. That is that I want to limit the travel time to only 4 to 5 hours. And then also plan it in budget under 10,000. And also I want it to be away from tourist crowds. And then I will ask LLM to reason it by step. Um, Basically, a tree of thoughts where LLM should reason on various options that are available for this trip, then expand on each options and expand its possibilities, and then evaluate and decide which of the options that are provided is best suited for my use case, and then pick the best one. So that's how tree of thoughts works. It first categorizes the main input data into various options. Then it expands each option into possibilities and then evaluate and decide which of the options are best suited for your use case. So the output format would be narrowed down to Samtara for this the LLM that we used. What we did was to categorize the options, various options. So it divided into hill stations, heritage towns, and so on and so forth. Then it expanded each option with 2 or 3 possibility options. For the hill stations, we got Sabudara. For nature lake, we got Polo Forest. And for the heritage town, we got Japan and other uh, various places. Then on the evaluate and decide steps, we got Sabudara, where the constraint that we provided, we also expanded on that, where the time travel for it is around 4 hours from Vadodara. The budget would be around 7 to 8K. Um, the hill station vibes and also good stay options and relaxing, whereas it did same for other options, both Polo Forest and Japan. And based on the evaluation and decide step of various options, it decided Sabudara is best for my use case, where I provided the time constraint and budget that I provided. So it did something similar to humans, how we plan the trip. It did something similar to how humans do. So rather than relying just on one single prompt of just give me the best place to go in this weekend, we provided a structured way of how LLM can use this tree of thought prompting technique in order to get the best answer. Yep. So the main pros of this tree of thought prompting is that it enhances the problem solving rather than doing just one solving just one simple problem. It could solve various complex problems. It also enhances the uncertainty handling because the reasoning steps provides a clear way of why it took the decision at each step. And but there are also cons of the same, as it would increase the computation overhead as we are diving deep into multiple uh, scenarios or multiple of thoughts. There might be more output tokens generated, which could increase the computation overhead, also increase the time of it uh, overall. And also, it is such inefficient as LLM might explore same path multiple times without relying that this path has already been explored. So that could also be an issue with your thoughts problem. Yep. So apart from that, there are also various other techniques. One of it is prompt chaining. So for a use case where we can divide a complex problem into smaller subsections, where we generally want to get specialization uh, from each and every prompt, then prompt chaining could be used, where we could divide a bigger problem into smaller sub steps and then use the output of first prompt to second prompt and so on and so forth. which could be useful for some of the use cases. So for this particular example, we'll take the job application preparation, where I could divide my problem into three subsections of it. First prompt would extract the essentials from the job description. It would go through the job description that I'm applying to and provide the five key skills that are required, what are the preferred keywords that are required in the resume, and the tone of posting. So based on that, I could tailor my resume also. So in the second prompt, I would provide output from the prompt one of the skills that are required, keywords that are required, and that I will provide in the second prompt. Along with it, I will also provide my resume to it so that it can provide me, give me suggestions where I could improve my resume. So the chances of me getting a call from it gets higher. And in the last prompt, I would generate some interview questions for it based on the job description and based on the resume that I have. It will generate me a various type of interview questions added in the that could be added in the my resume and also get me better prepared. That's how we use prompt chaining. So a simple prompt is a simpler version where we could solve a very simpler problem. Where in prompt chaining we could solve various complex problem by dividing into sub problem. So you can say prompt chaining is a cooler version of single prompt. So it's a like cooler version of Daniel, similar to that. Yep. So there are various pros of this particular technique. The main part is the debugging part, where we could go through each and every prompt and then debug it, uh, which could also help us get better results, and also debug it very easily as we are doing a very simple use case in each prompt. But there is also cons for the same, as we are relying on multiple prompts. We could do an error propagation from prompt 1 to prompt 10. So that could also be an issue for the same. We also have more control over the output as we are relying on smaller subsection of prompts. The control over prompt is also higher for it. One of the cons for it is the context length, as we are going to provide output of one prompt to another prompt. The context length might also be used very easily for the same. So that could be one of the disadvantage of the prompt engineering. And also the slower execution, as we are doing a chain of processing, the time it takes for solving a problem is higher. That's one of the cons of prompt engineering. So now we deep dive into how we can leverage LLMs, but this prompt techniques mostly solve some of the use case in day-to-day life, but this is not enough in order to solve the production ready application. That's where LLM workflow comes into place, as we can't just rely on one prompts for doing all the tasks that we have, as it has very limited scope. The relying just on single prompt is not reliable, as it would not be able to solve our day-to-day life complex problems. So that's why LM workflows come into place, which does a multi-step reasoning. It does more repeatable steps easily. We could configure sub workflows that could be reused everywhere. So that's where LLM workflows come into picture. So LLM workflows are nothing but a structured sequence of operation that also utilizes LLM and prompting techniques that we discussed, but it can also utilize third-party applications, databases, external calls, so forth and so forth, which is a limitation to LLM, as LLM has a knowledge cutoff as well. So we could leverage third-party applications that along with LLM in order to create a structured workflow that you can use for any of the problem statement that you are solving. So what does a LLM workflow contain? So these are the basic things that LLM workflow contains. First is the input data. You start with providing the input data, whatever instruction or whatever problem that you are currently solving. Then we also have LLM calls. That's the basic need of it, where we use various types of different LLM models in order to solve problems. Then there could be also data processing step, where we transform some of the data into one form to another. There could be also actionable tools, such as I mentioned, as LLM has a knowledge cutoff, we could use certain third-party application in order to get real-time data. We could also use databases that could be used for suppose for storing some of the applications, and also there are also switch and router use case where we can also add conditions in order to execute the sub workflows. And also along with that, we can also have a Gmail integration in the tools itself. If you want the answer to get into any email, then we can also do that. And finally, we have the output where we can also do bunch of things in the output that we get and transform it to the text that we want. So before we deep dive into what are LLM workflows, we'll deep dive into what tool calling is basically is. So as I previously also mentioned that LLM has a knowledge cutoff. So the cons that LLM has could be uh, limited by tool calling, where we use particular tools, various integrations that are available in order to use databases, third-party applications, in order to get data from, suppose, from the web. That would be one use case. Um, Doing an email, giving a message in the WhatsApp. This could be various types of tool calling that we could do in our LLM workflows. So there are various types of LLM workflows that we can leverage architecturally based on the problem statement that we are solving. So one is prompt chaining, where we do a bunch of complex tasks into simpler prompts, and then chain it together in order to get the output at last. We could also have some conditions in between. Based on the conditions we got from the output data, we could rely on a particular subsection of the workflow also. We could use various smaller sub problems, chain it together in order to get the output, similar to what we discussed in the prompt chaining in the previous slides as well. The another one is the routing, where the primary router is the main logic where we, based on the input data and based on the instructions that we have, we finalize what would be the sub workflows that needs to be called. So that's one of the other um, LLM workflow pattern, the routing workflow pattern. Another could be parallelizations. So whenever there is a problem where the sub workflows are independent of each other, we could use parallelization where the individual sub workflows could be called paralleling, and then there would be aggregator node which will be utilized in order to merge all the output data from each independent sub workflow and then aggregate it and transform it and get the output. Uh, then we also have orchestration workflow, where we could orchestrate various type of LLM workflow. Based on the input data that we have, the orchestrator node would decide what type of processing should be done, which type of sub workflow should be called, and so on and so forth. And every time a sub workflow gets executed, the orchestra decides what are the next steps for the same, and then there will be a synthesized node which would transform all the output data from each and every LLM workflow in order to get the output data. So some of those complex workflows that needs to be solved could be solved by LLM orchestration workflow. And the last one we have is the reflective find loops, which are similar, which is basically for the creative work, where the output quality matters a lot than the speed of it. So whenever that we have a creative task, we generally use this reflective find loop, where there's a generator function which would generate uh, the content for it each and every time, and then there will be evaluator which decides if it should go to the loop again or it should the content that is generated via this LLM workflow is enough or not. So that what it is, LLM reflect and refine loops will cover more into it in the NA10 section. So this is what LLM workflow is. We provide a theory of what are different types of LLM workflow, what are the input data, what are the nodes that are available in the LLM workflow. We reason why just relying on the simple prompt is not enough, and that's where LLM workflow comes into place, which could be utilized for the production-ready application. We'll deep dive into more in the later stage. I will hand over to Ayush, who will do the full session.
Yeah. Thank you, Ramsuk. So we have learned what are the LLM workflows, what are the type of workflows, but how do we actually implement them? So we implement workflows using n10. So n10 is basically a low code, no code open source platform for implementing the LLM workflows. So for a fun fact, full form of n10 is nodemation, which is derived from node automation. So we have different types of nodes. So we connect those nodes and we create automation workflows. So these are the some of the features of the n10. It has event-based triggers, like we can trigger the workflow using the webhook. We can schedule the workflows. We can use app event. We can visually drag and drop nodes to build the workflow, which simplifies the automation design. So we have self-hosted or cloud version of the n10 available. Uh, we have JavaScript to have the custom code node to extend the capabilities of n10 and add the custom logic into it. We have wide variety of support for the various APIs and tools and other databases and SaaS tools to extend its capabilities and create more complex workflows with it. So as we seen, there are many types of nodes available in the n10, and these nodes are used to create automation. So first we have code trigger nodes. So how can we trigger the n10 workflows? So we can trigger it mainly using three nodes, which is manual trigger node. So we can manually initiate, a user can manually initiate the workflow by using this node. We have cron job node where we can schedule the workflow. So it will run on a specific time periodically. We have app triggers like Google Drive where we can trigger the workflow based on uploading or any changes done to a particular file. Next, we have data processing nodes. So where we have split data node where we flatten the data structure. We have aggregate node where we merge the data into one single data field. We have set data fields where we can edit and customize and modify a field. We have decision nodes where like if and switch where we can decide which workflow to go based on a condition. And we have custom code node which currently supports JavaScript where we can add a custom processing to the data via this node using JavaScript language. Next, we have connectivity node. Here we have two types of node like webhook node, which can be receive real-time updates and can be triggered real-time based on some event in the webhook. Next, we have HTTP request node, which can connect to any third-party service or API using HTTP request. Next, we have AI nodes. So for connecting to LLM, we have two type of nodes. A simple LLM node, which basically mainly operates on the text, like we are prompting to chat GPT. Next, we have agent node, which has memory and access to tools and can work autonomously to get the specified and desired output. Next, we have storage nodes. In storage node, mainly we have three types of node. A database storage node where we can use Postgres and various other types of database nodes that are available in n10. For file storage, we have Google Drive node where we can leverage Google Drive to store and retrieve the files. For Sheets, we have Google Sheet node where we can retrieve and store the data in Google Sheets. So we are listening to endless plans. So when do we start running? So we start running now and do some implementation. So before going through a hands-on experience, we'll go through all of these nodes that we just discussed. So these are the code trigger nodes. So if we execute this flow and It says here, welcome to Jeavio's AI tech session. So this flow was triggered by the manual trigger. Likewise, we have scheduled trigger where we can set the intervals, days, and hour. So this flow will execute periodically at the specified hour. Then we have this Google Drive node where we can select a folder and anything that updates to the folder like folder update, file creation can trigger this workflow. Moving on, we have data processing nodes. Yeah. So first, we are giving a list of users as a data. So this list is a one big data item that contains 8 different users. So we are sending this one big item to split users array, split node. So this node, in this node, we are splitting the data according to users. So this one big data item is split into 8 different items, which are the 8 users listed over here. So this is the use of split node. This data is then going to aggregate node where we are aggregating a particular field of this 8 data items, which is name field. So we are aggregating the name field into one single data item. Next, we have edit field nodes. Here we are splitting this full name into first name and last name. So here we are using JavaScript to get the first item of the full name, which is the first name. And here we are using the full name to get the last data item, which is the last name. We are appending this to the previous items for all these nodes. So in this way, we can split and modify the data. Next, we have decision node like if node. Here we are making the decision based on the condition like first name equal to Alice. So for one data item, we have first name as Alice. So this will be true for one data item and false for the other all 7 data items. So this can be used to trigger another workflow which can be added over here based on a condition for true as well as for false. Likewise, we have code node where we can have some custom logic. If there is some manipulation, some processing that we need to do that cannot be done with some basic nodes, like we need to add the date of which the workflow is executed. So here for simplicity, I'm just changing the hire date to the date that we currently fetch. So this will be the date when the workflow was running. So we can iterate over all these data items and have the custom logic to manipulate the data. Next, we have merge nodes. So if you want to merge the output from more than one workflows and process it further, so we can use this merge node where we can select the number of inputs and then we can merge those and create one big output which can be further processed. Moving on, we have connectivity node, which is webhook and HTTP request node. So if we listen for this webhook, so this webhook is currently listening to this URL, which is a post HTTP method. So it does not require any authentication. So let me just quickly go to Postman and fire this webhook request. So here we are sending a data, which is my name. So in response, we are getting iOS is executing this workflow. So we are editing this over here and sending this data as a response to webhook, which we are in turn getting into the Postman. So this is with the way to listen for webhooks, process the data that we got from webhook and respond to a webhook. Next, we have HTTP request node. Here we can connect to any third-party service like for simplicity, I'm connecting to Dummy.json, which does not require any authentication. So here we are creating an object via this post API, which is this N8N workflow. So here we are simply passing the title and the user ID to create an object into this Dummy.json website. as a part of storage node, we have Google Drive node where we can upload files, and we have Postgres node where we can access the database, insert the rows, and manipulate the data in the database. Let me quickly grab this manual trigger. Yeah. So here we have a simple workflow to create a spreadsheet to create a sample data, which is the list of users that we saw earlier. We'll split this list into 8 different items, and then we'll append those data items into the website that we just created. So let me quickly run. Yeah, so this website is created. So this is the URL. Let me just open. Yeah, so as you can see, there is no data and it is just created. And if we execute the workflow further, yeah, this will output the list of one big data item. We are splitting it into 8 different users, and then we are inserting into the sheet that we just created. So this sheet will have this list of users that we have processed. Moving on, we have AI nodes where we have 2 types of node, basic LLM chain node, which is basically just a prompt that we give, just like we give to ChatGPT. It has no context and nothing. And next we have AI agent node, which has the chat model. It can retain the context, it can have the memory, it can use the tools, it can autonomously decide on what to do, and it can give us the desired output. So this was the walk through some of the nodes, some of the basic nodes in the automation in the n8n. Now we are going to create one simple workflow. So the workflow that we are going to create is a simple MOM generation workflow for the meeting transcription. So we'll take one meeting transcription file as an input. We'll generate the summary of that meeting transcription, and then we'll send an email. So first, let me grab the form submission node. Select this trigger node. We'll quickly give the title, description. We'll add the form element. We'll add meeting transcript as first element. Type will be file. The accepted file type is txt. And of course, this field is required. We'll add another field as email. Type will be text. This will also be required field. Yeah. So if we try to execute the workflow, it will show a form like this. Now we'll add a summary node. Yeah, data to summarize will be the binary file that we just grabbed using that on form submission node. We can update the chunking strategy as per our need, let's say some 2000 characters per chunk. As the advanced option, we can have batch processing. We can also update the summarization method to map reduce update. We can update this prompt if we want. Then this is basically a wrapper in the line chain summarization, and we can plug in the model, which would be a Gemini chat model. We can create here the credentials. Okay. Select the credential. We can grab this Google Gemini key from the AI Studio, Google AI Studio. And then we need to send an email. So set up the account by signing in with Google. I have already done that step. And let me first disconnect and see what happens if we run this workflow up till now. Select the transcription file, add the email. Yeah, so it is processing the file for the meeting transcription. Yeah. So this is the summary that it has generated. Now we need to email this summary. So this is the recipient node. So let me just quickly connect this. Yeah, this is the recipient field that we just collected from this on form. So what we can do is we can quickly grab this and drag it over here. The subject can be MOM generation. The email type can be text, and we'll just grab this text over here, drag and drop this text field. And then if we execute this step, yeah, the email has been sent. Let me just quickly check the inbox. Yeah, so here we got the email. Yeah, so by simply three nodes, we can get the meeting transcription, we can summarize it and then send the email. So this is how easy it is to create an automation by just dragging the nodes, connecting and configuring them. So now let's look at some complex example like PRD analyzer. So in this example, we are analyzing a PRD file for a feature, for a sample feature where we take that file as a form input. We paste the email and then hit submit. So in this, we first extract that file. We'll set the data extracted as the data in the set node. Will So we have some of the persona set up over here, like front-end engineer persona, back-end engineer persona, a DevOps analysis persona, and a solution architect persona, where they are just prompt. They has a prompt which says a senior front-end engineer, which needs to analyze this ERD as a perspective of the front end, which it needs to take UX requirement and all this stuff in mind and create the analysis of the ERD. We have an output parser, so we need the output to be in the specified format, which should include this type of field in the output. It should include the parameter description and the judging criteria. So this one was for front-end analysis. Same goes for the back-end analysis. Have a prompt which says senior back-end engineer. It needs to analyze the PRD into data, the perspective of the data and architecture, API design, scalability, security, caching strategy, infrastructure, and some other items. So here also we have uh, same output parser where we need to get the output in the specified format. Same goes for the DevOps analysis, where we need to analyze the PRD, which requires to be analyzed in infrastructure requirement, disaster recovery, cost optimization, and bunch of other important DevOps perspective items. Next, we have a solution architect. Same, we need to analyze the PRD in perspective of a solution architect, which includes some system layer architecturing and trade-off analysis, risk assessment, future extensibility, and all that important stuff. So once these analyses are generated, we merge that analysis into one big data item, which has all the analysis and all the perspective of this all four personas. We aggregate them into one data item, and then we pass to one technical product manager, which will summarize and decide based on some certain criterias, like what are the next step, what are the budget, what are the recommended implementation approach, what are the critical dependencies, and some other stuff. So this will analyze everything, summarize everything, and give us the final overview of the output. Here also we have the structured output attached, which has a summary of all four and overall analysis. And then we are further sending it, and we are further emailing it to the specified email that we took onto the on form. So we might have received the email. Yes. So this was the summary of the PRD that we have uploaded. So now Namsuk will explain further few N8N workflows from some complex ones that we have created.
Thank you, Ayush, for the hands-on session. We'll quickly move to the few of the LLM workflows that we have created, showcasing how we can leverage this N8N workflow to solve particular use cases. So we discussed about the reflect, refine loop in our LLM workflows slide. So this is something similar that we have created for refining a particular content generation based on the input data that we provide. So a simple form similar to what we saw in Ayush created. So we'll provide a topic that we want content to be generated. We also provide the content type. I will provide the blog article for it. We could also have other content tab as well, and we would have a target audience given to it. I already run it once, so I wouldn't run it again, but you can provide your content details, your content type, and the expected audience to it in order to generate trigger this workflow. So what it particularly does is, based on the input that you provide, topic that you provide, it would use this perplexity node in order to analyze the current market trends that are going on for the topic that you provided. You can also provide the search relevancy, recency of it, whether it should be it should analyze recent content or not. How much recent could it be? I would configure a month for now, but you can do it based on your scenario, and it would based on the news articles, based on the medium articles, based on the web articles that are available for the topic, it would generate a list of comprehensive research about the trends and about the data facts about it, and then it provides it to another node, LLM node, which would take this topic and generate two ideas that I can write a research, I can write my blog article in it. So based on the topic ideas that I provided and based on the perplexity research, this LLM model will generate LLM ideas. It will generate ideas for that topic. And then I have initialized one content critic feedback loop where a professional content critic, how it will analyze the ideas and then it will identify what are the missing things in it, how can it be improved, and what are the engaging enough for target audience or not. It will provide the critic, and the content refiner will update the content based on the critic analysis or whatever it has provided, and the evaluator will see if the ideas that are generated by the content refiner or the changes that have been done are enough to provide it to the output or not. Based on it, it will decide if it's enough or not. If it's not enough, it will go again to this loop again, unless and until either we get the JSON done by the evaluator node, or just for our use case, we also have added turn where after 3 turns, we will stop this loop as we don't want to go into a loop forever. So this will analyze the topic ideas. It will create a report for you, how you can leverage the topic that you want the content to be, and based on it to provide different ideas to it. Uh, and it will email to you. I've already added the one of the report for AI bubble that I created previously. So as you can see, the evaluator will provide the executive summary of it. Then also the top three recommended content recommendations on what is currently going on in the market based on the topic that we selected. It will provide the content structure, what should be the content structure of it. It will provide it for all three, and also it will provide suggestions that are provided by the suggestion loop, uh, suggestion LLM node, and then also provide key research insights that we did by perplexity. So it will create a full report of how you can do a content strategy for your topic, and you can also leverage this workflow in order to create the content and then uploading it to LinkedIn. Suppose you can add the LinkedIn node here on Instagram, and then you can use leverage this critic feedback loop in order to generate the idea, create the content, and then publishing it to LinkedIn if you want. You can also add the evaluator as a human here as well. You can provide a Slack message or a WhatsApp message confirming that did you like this content that has been generated. If you say, suppose say yes, then another workflow could get the content from this workflow and then paste it in the LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever you have configured. This is how you can leverage the content critic feedback loop for content generation. For now, we have generated a basic summer strategy report for the topic that we have decided on the executive form. That is one of the use case that we covered. I also did a simpler workflow of generating the summarization based on the um, transcription. We also could leverage that and extend it forward in order to generate other things. Like here, we are generating the summary um, as we did in the previous step, in the previous workflow. Then we are also extracting concerns that are being added, that could be that we can get out from the transcription. Who were the participant who has raised the concern and what was the concern about, and we can also extract the action items here. What are the tasks that are was discussed and who are the assignees for the same, any deadline that has been provided, and also what's the priority of the same. So we could use this workflow in order to again upload the same transcript here, and we could generate the transcription summary, extract concerns, and providing the action items for the same. So as you can see, I've got the meeting summary of it, meeting summary of the transcription that I provided, the concerns and issues that were raised, the technical issues, and other items um, that were raised. And also we got the action items about the assignee deadline, what is the priority and what is the context behind it. So we got these action items as well, and what are the key decisions that have been made in the meeting as well. So we got this message as well. We could extend this further as well by providing a message to each and every individual whose action items has been generated. So that way we could send a message to them on Slack or on WhatsApp, depending on the use case. So this is how we leverage anytime LLM workflows. We have covered multiple LLM workflows, reflect, refine, loop, parallelization, so on and so forth. You can do the same for any of the use case that you have. Yep. So discuss about LLM workflows quite extensively, but There are also something called AI agents, which you might be aware about. Uh, there's one of the meme where if we say LLM works for the best AI agents better than that, in some of the use case, we'll cover them in our next session as well. Yep, for the bonus content, we have tools identified which you could leverage in your day-to-day life for some of the use case that you have. First one is the rollout. It is an indie startup from the founders from Dukan. It is similar to Lovable, where you can provide the prompt and it will generate a static site for you. If you pay for the premium, you could also update the content as you want. For saving the time, we have already created one of the website using it. Have given a simple prompt and it has generated a static content site, which is also deployed, which I can share it to anyone and everyone, and also update it if I pay for the premium. So there's one of the, if you want to generate a suppose a static site or you want to do a prototyping for any of the application that you're working on, and this could be a nice way to quickly prototype it, build a POC, and share it across everyone to get the feedback easily and then iterate over it. So that's one thing, and also we have another thing. Whatever means that we created, uh, that we have added in this PPT is not created by ourselves. We have asked LLM to generate the memes for us, and it does a good job of as they have added multiple templates in it, and then you can also easily edit them and share it them across, paste it in your PPT. So this is also one of the nice tools that you could leverage. Yep, that's it for the content side. Um, Thank you very much.
Sure. Hey, wonderful session. So I have a basic question about Anatel. Like there is a different tool called Zapier. Yeah. So what is the core difference between both of them? Like I sense both are almost similar. Yeah, mostly they are similar in nature, but the main difference comes out in Anaten's LLM first workflow place, where Zapier was way before LLM existed. It was used to create workflows that you want to do, and it is also open source. I'm not sure about Zapier, and you can self-host. There are communities huge for it, and as if you want a community node that is already available, the templates available in that engine is also great. But Zapier is also a very nice tool where it could be used for your use case. Based on the use case, you can choose whatever works for you. Main is the integration. I guess if integration is available in Canada itself, it's better to use a pre-available node rather than doing it by yourself. Okay. Thanks. They will not allow to direct access the live models and things. So, is there any possibility to use local LLM? Um, I'm not sure if we can configure it via the self-host version, but as it provides HTTP request, you can always configure a server for your model that runs on the server, and then you can configure it to call it and uh, call an HTTP request basically and get the output. So that is always the case, but I'm not sure. You need to check if a self-hosted version provides the capability to integrate that model. Because the major concern is security, like clients are allowed to share data online. Yeah, that's completely valid. But there's always another way where you can configure a server and then use it by HTTP. Yes. If you want. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ash and Ramson, for giving us. Hi. So I'm new to this field. So something called MCP also got hyped up earlier. So how it is different, but I think Anaton is some similar to the MCP, or what is the difference between?
So LCP is completely different in the case where LLM allows you to do asynchronous workflows, where MCP allows you to integrate to third-party applications and then you can configure it. So the workflow that you see is configured by MCP anytime. So we configure it to anytime MCP in our cursor. It used the documentation of anytime and created the workflow for us. So the workflow that you also see is done by LLM. We did some parts of here and there, but most of that was done by NCP. So NCP solves a different use case where you can leverage third-party applications and integrate it to your flow, whereas N10 is for executing it asynchronously in the cloud or in the central storage. And it provides different integrations that you can.
Thank you so much, Ayush and Anso, for leading us through this very insightful session. And I hope all of you be able to, along with the setup, being able to progress and make the most of today's session. As always, I encourage every one of you to try it out in your own projects, experiment with it. And the more you break, the more stories we can hear about it. We'd love to know your experiences on trying these concepts through our group that we have a meetup, or maybe we could also connect on it next time when we meet. But we definitely love to hear if you've been able to apply any of these learnings back at home. Having said that, now it's time for us to move. I'm sure today's session was quite exhausting mentally in terms of all the knowledge that we've gained. So I think it's time to treat ourselves with some food. We have it ready here in our other office. But just a second before we do, I'd like to thank our leadership team to always encourage, motivate us to have these sessions, our facility and marketing team, to run and execute these sessions so well. Thank you all for bringing in the energy, because that's what keeps these sessions going. If there's any topic or any suggestions that you'd like to provide for us to drive these next set of topics, it would be really helpful for us to curate the content